welcome to Sooner Sports Pad, live from Studio A at the University of Oklahoma. We're back after the Red River rivalry, ready to break down the 120th edition of the game and the first in the SEC. I'm your host, Kaylee Jo Hommel, and right beside me are Abby Williams and Britton Ross. And we have OU cross country in the house tonight. But a new week means a new opponent, and the first time these two teams have met ever. We'll take a look at who's flying into Norman Saturday.
And when you play for Patty Gasso, you're a star. Later in the show, we'll have who stood out in OU softball's latest battle series.
And Abby and I will talk about Sooners are lighting it up and breaking records in the NFL.
But first, we're going to throw it back to OU Texas. And all right, we're going to start right in the first. On the first drive, Quinn Ewers throws the ball, and wait a second, turn the camera. Could it be true? OU's Billy Bowman intercepts it. Still the same quarter, the Sooners put the first points on the board with a 42-yard field goal by Tyler Keltner, but that three is gonna stick. It's now 7-3 Texas, and Quintravion Weiser is running when Robert Spears-Jennings comes out of nowhere. He forces the fumble, but it's recovered for a Texas touchdown. And that's not the only fumble of the game. Michael Hawkins Jr. fumbles it right here, and the Longhorns score 7 again right afterwards. We're gonna end here in the fourth with the last Longhorn touchdown of the day. Ewers had one passing and one rushing. Final score 34-3 Texas. Now our Sooner Sports Pad team was at the Cotton Bowl Stadium covering the game. Sooner Sports Pad reporter Amy Acevedo took a deep dive at the Sooner offense that lacked some deep balls.
On Saturday, the Sooner offense was shut down by the Longhorn defense, only moving the ball 236 yards. And combined fumbles by freshmen Michael Hawkins Jr. and Taylor Tatum only added to Oklahoma's offensive woes. This also marks the second time in Brent Venables' 3 Red River rivalries that the Sooners have failed to score a touchdown.
We make a field goal, but we couldn't get anything sustained. We had our opportunities in the first quarter, first half, a couple of turnovers that led to, I think they scored a touchdown off of the back-to-back fumbles there late in the second quarter. And they got up and put a lot of pressure on us.
The things that we do well throughout the week of practice, we got to carry that over into the games. And I think it's been inconsistent, and that starts with me. So I'll be the first to say it. I got to get better and putting them in better situations to be successful, obviously.
Overall thoughts of the game, I just could have came out a little harder. Just saw little things I could have fixed on the sideline just after plays, and got through it better. Could have gotten through it better and just lead my team in a better way. And just the biggest thing for me is just coming back with a harder and mindset of working and leading my team when things go left. So just getting through adversity.
Reporting from the Cotton Bowl Stadium, I'm Amy Acevedo, Sooner Sports Pad.
Thanks, Amy. This offense has been falling short. It's only produced 13 plays of more than 20 yards this season, and the only team with less, Kennesaw State, and they haven't won a single game. Miami and Ole Miss have had 13 plays of 20-plus yards in just one game this season.
Yeah, Kaylee, after that win in Auburn, spirits were high for the Sooners, but it seems Cinderella has lost her shoe after a very short-lived offensive success. Now Oklahoma's offense ranks dead last in the SEC in yards per game.
And the offense has given up 20 sacks in just 6 games. That puts the Sooners near the bottom of college football. It's no surprise that the offense can't move the ball forward when the QB can't even stay on his feet.
Now, for the side of the ball that's played its best all season, they played arguably their worst of the entire season. I was also with Amy at the game, and here's my defensive breakdown as the Sooners face the #1 team in the nation. OU got the last word in the Big 12, but it was Texas who got the first word in the SEC. Now, before the Red River rivalry, the Longhorns were averaging 40 points per game, and the Sooners were able to hold them to only 34, but they're still looking at this as a not-so-great defensive performance.
You create your own breaks, by effort, by toughness, by being in the right place, by putting them in the right call, and again, that's just the way it rolls sometimes, and that's, for us, man, for us on defense, we've got to take responsibility for that.
We had to tackle better. I think that's the #1 thing I see, just the physicality and the way that we played. There were drives, it was like 3 and out, and then 10 play, 75-yard touchdown drive, and we missed 8 tackles. you know, when we had an opportunity. And just a couple times I just felt like we got a little soft on the edges.
I guess they see me as a playmaker, and I should have made those plays. And I just had to say sorry. I mean, next week is going to be a different week, another opportunity. We got to just thank God for another opportunity. This loss hurts, indeed.
Next up for the Sooners, the Gamecocks are traveling to Norman, where they're going to take on OU for the first time ever. Reporting from the Cotton Bowl Stadium, Kaylee Jo Hummel, Sooner Sports Pad. Now, Eli Bowen was the star on this defense. He notched his first career tackle for loss, and not to mention a team and career-high 8 tackles. And he's only a true freshman, making him the only true freshman defensive back to make a career start against the Longhorns since 2010.
Well, it started out great for the Sooners, Billy Bowman intercepting Quinn Ewers on the very first drive, but it didn't end that way. OU's defense allowed Texas an average of 6.7 yards a play, nearly double what the Horns gave up defensively.
You're right, Abby, but it's not completely their fault. The offense set them up for failure with 6 punts, 2 turnovers, and a turnover on downs. They gave up 400 yards because they were constantly on the field.
Now, this week is homecoming for the Sooners, but homecoming goes beyond just the crimson and cream. When we come back, we'll break down what makes this game so special for a certain someone. South Carolina is visiting Norman for the first time, but it's not the first time for head coach Shane Beamer. He worked as an assistant offensive coach for the Sooners for 3 seasons. He's now with the Gamecocks, who are currently 3-3 this season, and they proved they shouldn't be counted out in the SEC, losing 27-25 against the Crimson Tide. For OU senior linebacker Danny Stutzman, he's keeping a positive mindset for this next game against the Gamecocks.
We're 4-2, not 2-4. You know, we still have half the season in front of us. I think if you have that type of mindset you're already giving up now, then I don't want you on this team because I still have a lot to play for. I'm only here for a few more months. I still got a lot I want to accomplish. I mean, we don't really talk about another loss, so that's not on the table right now. I think for us, you know, it's kind of already been instilled in my head, you know, for the years I've been here. You know, you kind of have to now do it for the younger guys and just kind of be a coach in the locker room.
Now, this South Carolina team gave Alabama a run for their money in Tuscaloosa. So what does OU need to do to make sure it's not even close in this next home game?
Well, Kaylee, you're right. South Carolina is better than their record implies, but the Gamecock offense isn't to thank for that. South Carolina's quarterback, Lenoris Sellers, has 4 interceptions through 5 games, which the Sooner defense can capitalize on. Despite the rough go against Texas, OU still has more defensive turnovers than any other defense in the SEC. Coming off the loss, Robert Spears Jennings wants things to change going into this weekend.
Sad, mad, frustrated, all the above, really. Just because it felt just like my freshman year, 49-0, you know, we really couldn't get nothing going. And also, like, defense, we just gave in. Like, we started off so hot, and out of nowhere, we just gave in. So it was very frustrating for me.
This OU offensive line is going to have their hands full of the South Carolina defense. The Gamecocks are ranked 20th in total defense, giving up just under 300 yards per game. And the Sooners, they're all the way down at 125 out of 133 teams, averaging less than 290 yards per game on offense. OU gave up 5 more sacks against Texas and are only getting 3.4 yards per rush this season. Running back Javante Barnes knows they have to be more efficient in the run game going forward.
I mean, it starts with practice. You know, sometimes we mess up and we kind of brush it off, but it starts right there. We got to have that in practice, and so it's the little details, like I've been saying. And you just got to have that mindset where you're going to mess up. I mean, nobody's perfect in football. Nobody's perfect in life, period.
If nothing changes on this offense, Sooner fans are going to have 2 USC teams with former OU coaches to hate on. I have the Gamecocks ruffling some feathers with a close score and Oklahoma on top.
Well, I love the optimism, Kaylee Jo. It's true. The Sooners need this win. I'll take OU in this one too, but either way, it's going to be a 1-score game.
OU's best path to bowl eligibility is to beat Maine and South Carolina. The Sooners are no stranger to early kickoffs at home. With a whiteout this week, OU wins a nail-biter.
Now, with playoffs out of the picture, will the Sooners even have the chance to go bowling? With a win against South Carolina this weekend and Maine in November, I have OU only winning 6 games, reminiscent of Brent Venables' first year as OU head coach.
I'm with you, Kaylee. They already have the 4 wins, and Maine, well, it should be a lock, assuming the play calling and the play making improves. OU finishes 7-5.
Mizzou, Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama have looked beatable at times this year. With that being said, will OU beat any of those teams? No. They're going to stare 6-6 in the face again.
Now, don't go running anywhere because our interview guests know a thing or two about going the distance. When we come back, we have an exclusive interview with Oklahoma cross country. Welcome back and welcome to this week's interview guests, Grace Hansen and Jack Vincent from OU Cross Country. Now, Grace is a sophomore from Kansas City. She finished 176 in the women's 5K at her last meet. Jack is a graduate student from Claremore, Oklahoma. He finished 88th in the men's 8K at that same meet. Now, before OU, he ran at Kansas State and was named Academic Cross Country All Big 12 First Team in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Abby Britton, take it away.
Thank you both so much for being here. To start off for both of you, do you have a favorite place or a favorite course, if you will, to run at?
I'm going to have to say the A&M course that we're going to this Friday. It's just a really good course, I think, to run fast on. I think it's a familiar one. It's not a lot of hills, and you can see a lot of the competition for a lot of the race. So I'd have to say that that's my favorite.
I would say probably the course we just ran at Notre Dame. Really pretty course. I'd never been to the campus before. It was really pretty there, and that's where I ran my PR. So, got to be my favorite course for sure.
That's awesome. Grace, you're a Kansas City native. What was it about OU that drew you to Norman?
The team, to be honest, and I think that the culture that was here when I was getting recruited, going on my visits, is something that's only gotten better, and I'm so excited that I get to kind of be a part of it going forward. But yeah, the facilities are beautiful. It's a beautiful campus, and I love this team. So yeah.
Jack, we're both from Claremore. What brought OU here? Like, I know why I'm here. What brought you here from Kansas State?
Yeah, so I graduated from Kansas State in May. Spent 4 years there. It was great. I made a lot of great relationships and whatnot. But I think, going into my last year running, I was just kind of looking for breath of fresh air and a change of pace, change of scenery. So I think coming back in state to Oklahoma just made a lot of sense for me, and it's been great so far.
Now for both of you, a little training question here. How far would you each say you run in an average week?
My mileage is sitting at like 35 right now. So, and we have people who run a lot more than that. So that sounds high, but.
Yeah, Jack.
For myself, it's varied, but over the course of this fall, I'd say anywhere from 80 to 85 miles.
That's crazy. So, I don't even know if I drive that much in a semester.
Yeah. So obviously that's in season. What does it look like whenever you're not in the season?
I mean, I feel like we're in season pretty much all year. Like, we start cross training in maybe like July, August, and then we literally go till May. So, that month or two that we get off, we still got to run quite a bit. I don't know what the exact number would be there, but pretty much the same, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the part of the year where we're training the most for cross country. So throughout the rest of the year, I definitely won't be doing that many miles in a week.
Well, thank you both so much for being here. Really appreciate your time, and good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks again, Grace and Jack. Now, OU Cross Country won't be crossing the country, but they will be crossing state lines, where they'll be back in action with a meet on Friday in College Station. And the Sooner sports don't end with the races. When we come back, we're hitting the field, court, and diamond. Stay with us. Now it's time to get our audience in on the action. We talked the OU football record for the season earlier. I said 6-6, but what are we thinking?
I'm thinking we barely make bowl eligibility. 6-6, boom soon.
All righty, and what about over here?
I'm going with 8-4. I think we're going to get a couple big wins.
Awesome, and what about back here?
I think 7-5.
Awesome. Well, that's enough from football for now because we have so many other Sooner sports to get to. And I'm kicking it to a squad also on the hunt for their second win in the SEC. Sooner soccer fell to number 6 Arkansas last Sunday at John Crane Field. And the defense put up a strong effort as it was the 3rd time in 13 matches that the Razorbacks have been held to below 2 goals. Up next, Oklahoma is heading to Missouri to compete under some Friday night lights.
Well, I'm going down to the Bayou. OU volleyball took on LSU Friday. While the Sooners took the first set, it was all Tigers from there. Despite the Sooners' 4-set loss, Alexis Shelton was a bright spot for the Sooners, notching her 4th 20-kill match of the season with 21.
Well, I'm going to take it over to the Circle. OU softball continued their inter-squad battle series last week where Team Sooner beat Team Boomer 13-5. Cassidy Pickering finished 2 for 4 with 2 home runs, with 2 runs batted in off of a 2-run homer in the 5th inning. And Sydney Sanders also hit a 2-run homer in the 7th. And now they finally get to play somebody besides themselves Wednesday night, where they'll travel for a midweek matchup against Texas A&M Commerce.
Now this next competition is right here in the studio. Our 2 anchors will debate all things Sooner sports. When we come back, it's time for Face Off. It's time for Face Off. Our 2 anchors will go head-to-head debating all things Sooner sports. And our in-studio audience will pick a winner. Our 2 anchors are currently tied 2-2. Now, if I had to choose an MVP from the Red River rivalry, I would choose a Fletcher's corn dog. But Abby, fair food aside, who are you picking?
Hey, fair food's a good choice considering how poorly the offense and defense did. It was a rough week for the Sooners, so my MVP being the punter, Luke Elzinga, shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. But his success isn't just because of the lack of offense. Elzinga punted 6 times twice for over 50 yards. And that 63-yard punt in the 3rd quarter is tied for the 12th longest Sooner punt ever against Texas.
My MVP from Saturday is Eli Bowen. The true freshman did his part to wrangle the Longhorns. Bowen led OU with 8 tackles, 5 by himself, and a tackle for loss. He was one of the very few bright spots on a gloomy day for the Sooners. And Bowen is someone to keep your eye on as he's earned more and more playing time this year.
Now, it is the middle of the football season, so Britton, who in the Crimson and Creep has stuck out to you the most so far?
I'm going to go with the leader of that defense, Danny Stutzman. The senior came back this year because he wanted to play in the SEC, and he ranks 7th in the conference in tackles. He leads OU with 46 tackles on the year so far, and I'm excited to see how he finishes this season.
Well, I'm taking the former Sooner Sports Pad attendee, R. Mason Thomas. Through 6 games, he is now 11th in the nation in total sacks with 5.5. Not to mention, he's the only junior in the country with more than 5 sacks. He has a forced fumble against Tulane on the resume and 8 solo tackles.
Now, we can't forget about the former Sooners making a name for themselves in the pros. Former OU and South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler made his first career start in the NFL. But Abby, who else made their mark?
Well, what about the guy that was on the other side of the field for that game, Baker Mayfield? He had 4 passing touchdowns for 325 yards. Mayfield got the win over the Saints 51-27 and took home the MVP for my fantasy team this week.
Well, Abby, it's not every day that you tie a record in the NFL, but Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, he did just that on Sunday. Andrews hauled in a 13-yard reception that tied the record for receiving touchdowns in Ravens history. He now has 41 receiving touchdowns on his career in Baltimore, and he's only 29. So we'll see how far he can take that record.
Now this week, my eyes are on OU softball as they're in Commerce, Texas. But Britton, what do you think Sooner Nation should have their eyes on?
Well, OU has 2 offensive coordinators with no offense. Sooner fans are losing their minds about this. I know some of the issues they've had with the injuries but it's still Seth Luttrell's job as the play caller to figure it out because OU fans won't have it. And that South Carolina defense is a bad place to be if you're still having these issues week after week.
Well, I want to watch for a guy that's making his homecoming on the homecoming weekend. Once a Sooner, always a Sooner. South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer is coming back to the Palace this weekend. And at SEC Media Days this year, Beamer said he was looking forward to coming back to Norman, but it is still a work trip. Both teams will be hunting for their second conference win this weekend.
Well, now it is time for our audience to choose a face-off winner. So if you think it was Britton, let me hear you. Yeah. Okay, pretty good. But if you think it was Abby, make some noise. Alrighty, let me hear it for Britton one more time. Yeah. Okay, and Abby one more time. Alrighty, it is pretty clear to me that Abby is our face-off winner tonight. Thanks so much for watching Sooner Sports Pad live from Studio A at the University of Oklahoma. For Abby Williams and Britton Ross, I'm Kaylee Jo Hummel. Have a great night.